you think that when the Supreme Court takes this up, they are going to side with President Trump. Is that correct?
They are going to side against people being thrown off the ballot in this sort of manner. The brief that I will be filing with the United States Supreme Court is not going to say that President Trump is a bad person. It's not going to say that he's a good person. What it's going to say is that this extrajudicial means of removing people from the ballot is catastrophic to our country if it's allowed to continue. Because if Democrats can do it, you know that Republicans will do it. And if Republicans will do it, then Democrats will do it more.
To that point, Secretary, in order to remove President Biden from the ballot, according to your state constitution, you would need to go to court. What do you think would be your strongest argument?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Your state constitution actually states that the Secretary of State lacks authority to assess qualifications of a candidate to determine whether to place a candidate's name on a primary ballot. That's according to Section 115.387 of your state constitution.
Sir, what I'm saying is, if the Supreme Court upholds the ruling out of Colorado, and what
which went to court to disqualify Donald Trump from the ballot. So you, according to your state constitution, would need to go to court.
Sir, let's just be clear. First of all, you've already said you're not an attorney and you don't know what happened in Colorado. I
know what happened in Colorado, sir. What I said was that I didn't read through all of the evidence specifically to be able to qualify whether there was hearsay or not. To get back to my question, you said that you would decide to remove Joe Biden from the ballot in your state. According to your state constitution, which I just read to you from, it says you need to go to court. I'm asking you what you think your strongest argument is.
And I continue to try to answer your questions, and you continue to try to tell me stuff that just isn't true.
That's not factual, sir. You made an accusation about me not knowing something. I'm trying to clarify it for you. You can choose to answer the question or just continue deflecting. What is the strongest argument you would make in court to remove Joe Biden from the ballot? Go.
What has happened is, what I said in my statement was, if this becomes the law of the land and the Supreme Court...
That a state can choose how to qualify candidates on the ballot or not according to their state's constitutions? I'm just trying to clarify the point. I'm trying to clarify the point.
The United States Constitution is supreme over state constitutions. I hope you at least understand that. Now, I have to talk a little bit about the Colorado case. In Colorado, that lawsuit started because there's a law that prohibits the election authority, the Secretary of State, from doing something, well, in the vernacular, from doing something they're not supposed to do. That's how the lawsuit started. That same law, or a very similar law, applies to me in Missouri. If anyone can say so-and-so isn't supposed to be on the ballot and it's wrong for you to put them on the ballot, then we're going to see secretaries of state, elections authorities, maybe even county clerks across this country removing people from the ballot. I think that is a terrible thing. I am against that. And what I said was, if the Supreme Court allows it, that slippery slope is going to happen to everybody. They need to stop it from happening to anybody.
I'm sure the Supreme Court will settle whether you can remove someone from the ballot or not, or potentially give guidance on that. I'm wondering, though, what would then be your justification for removing Joe Biden from the ballot in Missouri? Has he engaged, in your mind, in some kind of insurrection?
There have been allegations that he's engaged in insurrection.
How so?
And no, please let me finish. There have only been allegations.
You can't say something like that and not back it up. What do you mean?
I am continuing, but you interrupted me before I could back it up.
Go ahead,
Are you
sir.
scared of the truth?
Oh, I'm not terrified of the truth at all. It seems like you might be. Let's hear what you have to say.
There have only been allegations against
What allegations?
President Trump has never been adjudicated guilty in a court of law.
What did Joe Biden do, in your mind, that equates insurrection? What allegations are you talking about?
I have seen allegations from the Lieutenant Governor of Texas that has said that Joe Biden has been part of insurrection or rebellion. We've seen the governor of Florida say the same thing.
Insurrection over what? What did the governor of Texas say that Joe Biden was causing an insurrection over? If you're going to make the claim, give me some specifics. Are you just going to cite the governor of Texas or Florida and not actually say what they are arguing? Do you know what they're arguing?
What I'm telling you is this. They made allegations, and all it took for former President Trump to be taken off the ballot in Colorado and in Maine were allegations. We should not be a country that removes people from the ballot based on allegations. I think you can agree with that.
I think it depends to a degree.
Oh, so your guy can be removed from the ballot.
My guy, Joe Biden is not my guy. You don't know who my guy is. The point is, sir, the point is that it's not clear whether the 14th Amendment is self-executing or not. In other words, it doesn't matter to a court at that point whether there was a conviction of Donald Trump for insurrection or not. That is a debate for the Supreme Court to have.
He's committed insurrection if there's not a conviction?
A judge decided so in Colorado.
But it wasn't a judge in Maine. It was just the Secretary of State.
Because that's the way the Constitution in Maine is laid out, sir.
The Constitution in Maine gives the Secretary of State the ability to decide whether or not someone is violated.
As part of a process, yes, someone can make the claim that someone shouldn't be on a ballot, that something they did disqualifies them. The Secretary of State is the first layer in a legal process of deciding whether that person belongs on a ballot or not. It's in Maine state constitution. I think you should probably read it, sir, before you make claims about the Maine Secretary of State and their process. We got to leave the conversation there, but I very much appreciate your time. You're welcome back anytime, sir.
This is CNN's Boris Sanchez speaking with Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, who's looking into removing Joe Biden from the 2024 ballot as retribution for Donald Trump being disqualified from the ballot in Maine. And if you were wondering what a bloodbath looks like on television, it is this interview. Now, first off, notice how Ashcroft says that Democrats seeking to remove Trump from the ballot is catastrophic because it creates a slippery slope wherein Republicans will then seek to do the same thing to Democrats. In other words, he is conceding that solely acting in retribution is bad, and yet that is quite literally exactly what he's doing here. He is a living embodiment of the very thing he claims that he wants to prevent. He's like, we can't have a country in which this tit for tat exists, and that is why I'm seeking to have Joe Biden removed in a tit for tat. If Ashcroft had any less self-awareness, I'm not sure he'd be able to see his reflection in a mirror. But I want to be clear about something before I say another word about this interview. Despite Ashcroft's claims, this is not some hit job by the Democrats. Donald Trump was removed from the ballot in Colorado and Maine because he rendered himself ineligible under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which states very clearly that if you've previously taken an oath of office and you engage in or give aid or comfort to those who've engaged in insurrection, then you are no longer eligible to run for office. I'm not sure if Jay Ashcroft was born after January 6, 2021, but that is precisely what Trump did. Only one person on the planet is responsible for Trump's actions on January 6, and that person is Donald Trump. So he may not like the consequences of his actions, but those consequences belong to him and him alone. Ashcroft then goes on to suggest that Trump was only removed from the ballot in Colorado and Maine because of allegations, and that we can't be a country that disqualifies presidential candidates based solely on allegations. But here's the thing, he is dead wrong. This isn't just some baseless allegation floating around in the ether that Trump engaged in insurrection. He was found to have engaged in insurrection in multiple courtrooms by multiple judges and justices and multiple grand juries. A trial court in California found this much after hearing testimony and reviewing the evidence. That was Judge Carter. A trial court also found this much in Colorado. That was Judge Wallace. The Colorado Supreme Court agreed with the lower court in Colorado, also finding that he engaged in insurrection. And grand juries found that he engaged in insurrection in Washington, D.C. by way of the probable cause standard, which is why that grand jury voted out the indictment in that case. And the grand jury in Georgia essentially found the same thing by way of the racketeering charge, which is why that indictment was voted out. So no, these are not willy-nilly accusations. These are findings of fact by multiple judges and multiple grand juries in multiple courtrooms. And of course, it's worth noting that while Ashcroft is content to serve as Trump's little errand boy and seek retribution against Biden for something that he has no control over, when asked why he would move to remove Biden from the ballot, all Ashcroft can offer is the nebulous claim of allegations of insurrection. That's it. He points to the fact that the governors of Florida and Texas made some allegations apparently so obscure that Ashcroft can't even cite what they're about. Look, If Joe Biden incites an insurrection, then yes, he should also be disqualified. Not only shouldn't that be the standard, it quite literally already is the standard. But if you can't actually back up what you're saying, then you're not giving anyone a reason to take you seriously, and you just seem like a bitter, salty partisan hack, which in this case pretty much fits the bill. And I alluded to this before, but it's worth digging into. Again, Joe Biden has nothing to do with this. Hell, I wish Biden was more outspoken about the fact that the Republican Party's presumptive nominee is a fucking insurrectionist. But this has nothing to do with Biden and everything to do with Donald Trump. Look, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is not new. It had already been written 150 years earlier. This wasn't some surprise for Donald Trump. No one sprung a 150-year-old amendment on him. So no, it's not Joe Biden doing this to him. It's not the Democrats doing this to him. It's not even the Supreme Court doing this to Trump. It is no one other than Donald Trump himself that is responsible for him being held to account for his own actions. I get that Trump and his mouthpieces want nothing more than to blame everyone else, but Trump has agency. And in the same way that he chose to summon a mob to storm the Capitol on January 6th, he also chose the consequences that come with it. So while Ashcroft succeeded only at making himself look like a fool on national television, just know that he won't be the last. Republicans are grasping at straws because they have no other choice. You've all heard the saying, when the facts are on your side, pound the facts. When the law is on your side, pound the law. When neither the facts nor the law are on your side, pound the table. These temper tantrums are nothing more than the last grasps of a cult of personality coming to terms with the fact that they've put all their eggs in the basket of a criminal defendant who may very well find himself in prison before the election actually rolls around. I get that that's inconvenient for the GOP, but in the words of Donald Trump,
"You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in."
Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.